70-year-old Sylvia Johnson was folding clean laundry in her bedroom when, at 2:30 in the afternoon, the front door of her house burst open with such force that the hinges screamed in protest. Her son Marcus stormed in like a hurricane, shouting, "Mom, where are you?" His voice echoed through the house with a rage she hadn't heard since his teenage years. Sylvia left the shirts on the bed and stepped into the hallway. There stood her 42-year-old son, face red, fists clenched, his green eyes, inherited from his father, piercing her with a hardness that sent a chill through her bones. "Why did Chloe call me crying, saying you changed the password on your card? She was at the grocery store and couldn't pay? You humiliated her in front of everyone." Sylvia froze in the doorway. 70 years of life had taught her to stay calm in tough situations, but this was different. This was her own son screaming at her in her own home. "Marcus, lower your voice. We're educated people," she said, her tone firm yet serene. "And yes, I changed the password because it's my card." "Yours? Mom, we're family. You can't just put up roadblocks when we need something." He took 2 steps closer, and for the first time in her life, a knot of fear twisted in her stomach. "The card is in my name, Marcus. It's my money." "Your money? Seriously? Are you going to be so selfish?" His words hit like projectiles. Chloe was just buying stuff for the house. Food, cleaning supplies, normal things. Sylvia knew that wasn't true. She had reviewed her statements last week. $200 on makeup, $300 on clothes, $500 at an expensive restaurant. But she stayed silent for now. "Son, if you need money for something specific, we can talk like adults. But I'm not leaving my card without a password for just anyone to use." "Just anyone? You're calling my wife just anyone?" His voice rose another notch. "She's your daughter-in-law. She's part of this family." Sylvia sat in her favorite armchair, the same one where she had breastfed Marcus 40 years ago. She needed to stay composed, even though her whole body trembled. "Chloe is always welcome in this house, but my credit card is not a family service." Marcus paced the living room like a caged animal, his shoes pounding the hardwood floor. He was sweating despite the air conditioning. "I can't believe what I'm hearing. You've been generous your whole life, always helping everyone, and now that your own family needs support, you're acting like a miser." That word hurt more than any scream. Miser. She who had raised this man alone after his father died, who had worked double shifts to pay for his college, who had given him the down payment for his apartment. "Marcus, I will not let you talk to me in my own home." "Then give me a coherent explanation. Why change the password overnight without telling anyone?" Sylvia stood from the armchair. Her back protested, but she needed to be on her feet for this. "Because I reviewed my statements and found expenses I don't recognize. A lot of money leaving my card without my authorization." "All those expenses were discussed with you." "No, Marcus, they were not." He fell silent for the first time since arriving. His breathing was heavy, veins bulging in his neck. "Chloe told me she always asked you before using the card." "Chloe is lying." The words slipped out before she could stop them. The silence that followed was thick and heavy. Marcus looked at her as if she had slapped him. "I won't let you insult my wife." "I'm not insulting her. I'm telling the truth." "The truth is, you're getting paranoid. Maybe it's time for someone else to handle your finances." Those words struck like lightning. Her own son suggesting she wasn't capable of managing her own money, doubting her mental capacity. "I think you need to leave, Marcus." "I'm not leaving until we fix this. Give me the new password right now." "No, son, I said no." She held his gaze. "This is my house and my decision. If Chloe needs something, she can ask me directly." Marcus headed for the door but stopped before leaving. His voice was colder than ice. "This isn't over. We'll talk again when you get over your tantrum." "It's not a tantrum, Marcus. It's a decision." "It's foolish. and you're going to regret it when you see how this affects our relationship." His words hung in the air like a threat, her own son threatening to cut off their relationship if she didn't give him access to her money. "Are you threatening me? I'm warning you. Chloe is very hurt by your attitude. I don't know if she'll want to see you after this." "Then that will be her decision." Marcus shook his head with contempt. "You know what? You're right. This is your decision, and we'll make ours." The door closed with a dry thud. Sylvia was left alone in the living room, trembling. The begonias on the patio still needed water, but she no longer had the strength. She walked to the window and watched Marcus's car speed away down the street, tires squealing as he turned the corner too fast. 40 years of motherhood, and it came to this. Her only son screaming at her for protecting her own money. The silence in the house felt different now. Not the peaceful silence of the morning, but something denser, heavier, as if the air itself had changed. She sat back in her armchair and closed her eyes. The conversation replayed in her mind like a broken record. Marcus's words, his tone, his fury, all for a password, all for protecting her credit card. But deep in her heart, she knew this wasn't really about a password. It was about control. It was about boundaries. It was about the fact that for the first time in years, she has said no. The phone rang once, then twice. She let the answering machine take it. It was Chloe, her shrill voice cutting through the silence. "Sylvia, I know you're there. I hope you're happy with what you've done. Marcus is devastated. I don't understand why you're behaving like this with us. We're your family." Click. The line went dead. Sylvia took a deep breath and opened her eyes. The clock on the wall read 3:30. The day had started normally with laundry to fold and plants to water. Now it felt as if she had lived an entire week in 2 hours. She got up and walked to the kitchen. She was hungry, but more than that, she needed to do something with her hands. Cooking had always been her refuge in difficult times. As she peeled potatoes for a late lunch, she couldn't stop thinking about Marcus's expression. The anger in his eyes wasn't new, but the coldness was. It was as if he had seen right through her and decided she was no longer worth his respect. But that sunny afternoon was just the beginning of the nightmare.
For 30 years, Sylvia's routine had been her strength, waking at 6 a.m., making coffee in the same coffee maker her husband Robert had given her before he died, checking the plants in the yard while the sun warmed the tiles. It was an organized, predictable, safe life. After Robert's funeral, when Marcus was 12, she learned that structure was the only thing that kept them sane. Mealtimes, study times, bedtimes, clear rules, firm boundaries. That's how they raised a good man, she thought. Their two-story house had been their refuge for 40 years. Robert bought it when she was pregnant with Marcus, paying off the loan over 20 years. Every room held a story, every corner a memory. The backyard where Marcus learned to walk, the kitchen where she prepared thousands of family meals, the living room where they celebrated every birthday. Neighbors knew her as the woman who always had time to help, bringing food to Miss Carter for 2 months when she was sick, lending the Perez family $500 for their son's school without interest. Generosity was her way of honoring Robert's memory. Marcus had always been a good son, studious, respectful, affectionate. When he turned 25 and got his first job as an accountant, she was proud. Her sacrifices had been worth it. For years, they were a perfect team. He handled her taxes, she cooked for him on Sundays, they visited regularly. Everything changed when he met Chloe. The first time he introduced her, Sylvia was making mac and cheese. Marcus walked in with a smile she hadn't seen since his teenage years, holding the hand of a thin, blonde woman with perfectly manicured nails and clothes that cost more than Sylvia's monthly salary. "Mom, this is Chloe, the woman of my life." Chloe smiled with perfect white teeth, but her eyes evaluated Sylvia from head to toe as if she were an obstacle to remove. Her handshake was firm, but cold. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Johnson. Marcus talks about you all the time." During dinner, Chloe praised the cooking, asked about the garden, showed interest in family photos. She seemed genuinely interested. When they left that night, Sylvia thought she had found a good daughter-in-law. The next visits were pleasant. Chloe brought flowers, helped with dishes, told funny stories about her job at an expensive clothing boutique. Marcus seemed happy, and that was all that mattered. The wedding was small but elegant. Sylvia paid for half the expenses without being asked. It was her only son, her only chance to be mother of the groom. Chloe chose everything: the dress, flowers, menu, music. Sylvia just signed the checks and smiled for the photos. For the first few months of marriage, Sunday visits continued. Marcus and Chloe came for lunch, shared stories of married life, and Sylvia enjoyed having him close. The house felt full again, like when Marcus was a boy. The first favors started innocently. "Sylvia, can you lend us some money? We're a little tight this month with apartment expenses," Chloe said in a sweet, timid voice. "It's $200. We'll pay you back on Friday." Sylvia gave it without a second thought. They were just starting married life. Young people often struggled financially at first. Friday came, but the money didn't. Instead, another request. "Mom, can you lend us $300 more? Chloe needs clothes for work, and I don't get my bonus until next month." $300, then $500, then more, always with the same promise. "We'll pay you back soon." Always the same excuse: "We're a little tight this month." After 6 months, the loans totaled nearly $5,000. When Sylvia brought it up during a Sunday lunch, Marcus grew uncomfortable. "Mom, you know we're going to pay you back. I don't understand why you're keeping such exact accounts. We're family." "Of course we're family, son, but $5,000 isn't." Chloe intervened with her most charming smile. "Sylvia, you're right. We've been careless with payments. How about we give you my credit card as collateral?" Sylvia didn't want their card. She wanted her money, but she accepted because she didn't know how to negotiate with her own family. A week later, Chloe called in a desperate voice. "Sylvia, I have an emergency. My card is blocked and I need to buy medicine for my mom. Can I borrow yours just for today?" Sylvia lent it, thinking it was just for medicine. That night, she checked her statement online. $150 at the pharmacy, perfect. But there were other charges too. $80 on cosmetics, $200 on clothes, $30 at an expensive restaurant. When she confronted Chloe the next day, she apologized with tears. "I'm so sorry, Sylvia. I was at the mall and saw incredible sales. I thought it would be okay. I'll pay you back tomorrow." She didn't pay back tomorrow, or the next week, or the next month, but she kept asking for the card for emergencies: her sister's birthday, shoes for a wedding, Marcus's anniversary gift, always urgent, always with promises of immediate repayment. After a year, Sylvia had lost count of how much money had left her card. Her life savings were dwindling, but every time she tried to talk about it, Marcus made her feel guilty. "Mom, I don't understand why you're so petty with us. You have enough money and we're trying to get ahead." Petty. That word haunted her for weeks. Sunday visits became tense. Sylvia cooked, they ate, but conversations always revolved around money. Bills they couldn't pay, unexpected expenses, opportunities they were missing for lack of cash. "If we had a better car, I could get a better job," Chloe would say while playing with her new phone. "If we could move to a nicer neighborhood, we'd have a better quality of life," Marcus would add while serving himself a third portion of stew. Sylvia listened in silence, knowing their words were indirect requests for more money. One afternoon while reviewing bank statements, she realized something chilling. In the last 6 months, she had spent more than she earned from her retirement fund. Her life savings were evaporating to finance Marcus and Chloe's luxurious lifestyle. She couldn't sleep that night, staying awake until dawn, calculating how much she had lost, how much they owed, and how long she could sustain this before ruin. For the first time in 30 years, her morning routine brought no peace. The coffee tasted bitter, the plants seemed wilted, the silence felt like a sentence. Something had to change, but she didn't know how to confront her family without destroying everything they had built. The following months were slow torture of small lies and big losses. Every week brought a new emergency, every emergency required her card, and every use turned into unauthorized expenses. "Sylvia, I need your card to buy medicine for Marcus. He has an infection and needs expensive antibiotics," Chloe would say in a worried voice. An hour later, notifications: $400 at clothing stores. When confronted, Chloe always had an explanation. I forgot to mention I needed new underwear. Mine are old and Marcus complains. $400 on underwear? It was a special sale, 3 pieces for the price of 1. I couldn't pass it up. There was always a justification, always a reason why the extra expense was necessary, intelligent, or inevitable. And Sylvia, who had raised an honest son, began to doubt her own perception. Sunday visits became financial review sessions. Chloe arrived with a mental list of future expenses requiring Sylvia's support. Marcus's cousin is getting married next month. We need new clothes for the wedding. Marcus's cousin. Sylvia knew her son better than anyone. He was an only child. His first cousin was like a sister to him. Marcus nodded without looking up from his plate. His silence had become complicit. I need $500 for a dress and shoes, Chloe continued. I can't show up looking shabby. His family is very elegant. $500 for a cousin's wedding Sylvia didn't know to impress people she didn't care about. When she tried to refuse, Marcus intervened with emotional guilt. Mom, you don't understand how important this is for us. We're building a social reputation. My job depends on connections I make at these events. His job as an accountant at a mid-sized firm didn't depend on social connections, but Sylvia no longer knew how to argue without sounding like a stingy old woman. One Thursday afternoon, while watering patio plants, Sylvia received a call from her bank. Mrs. Johnson, we're calling to confirm an unusual purchase, a $1,200 transaction at an electronics store. Can you confirm if you authorize this? $1,200. An electronics store? She hadn't bought electronics. At what store? Tech World in the City Mall. Do you authorize it? No, I do not. Cancel that transaction, please block my card, and send a new one in 5 business days. She hung up with trembling hands. $1,200. Chloe had her card since Tuesday for medicine for her headache. The phone rang 20 minutes later. Sylvia, what did you do? My card is blocked and I'm in the middle of the grocery store with a full cart. It's not your card, Chloe. It's my card, and I blocked it because there were unauthorized purchases. Unauthorized? All the purchases I made were necessary. Were electronics necessary? Silence, then a nervous laugh. Oh, that! Marcus needed a new computer for work. His broke and he couldn't wait. Why didn't you consult me before such a big purchase? Because we knew you would say no. You always find excuses not to help us when we really need something important. The accusation hit like a slap. She, who had financed their luxurious lifestyle for 2 years, was now the villain for protecting her money. Chloe, go home. We'll talk when you get here. I can't go home. My cart is full of food, and I can't pay. You come here and bring cash. Sylvia hung up. For the next hour, her phone rang nonstop. Chloe, Marcus, Chloe again. She let all calls go to the answering machine. She needed to think. She took out all bank statements from the last 6 months and spread them on the dining room table. The numbers didn't lie. In January, she had $45,000 in savings. By June, $26,000 had disappeared in 6 months. She reviewed every transaction: expensive restaurants, designer clothes, perfumes, shoes, handbags, beauty treatments, weekend trips. Nothing Chloe bought with her money was a basic necessity. The front door opened. Marcus and Chloe walked in without knocking, as if they owned the place. Mom, what happened with the card? Marcus seemed more tired than angry. I blocked it because I found purchases I didn't authorize. Chloe sat on the sofa without invitation, arms crossed defiantly. Sylvia, all those purchases were discussed with you. You can't just block the card every time you forget something. I didn't forget anything, Chloe. A $1,200 computer is a lot of money to not consult me. I did consult you. I told you Marcus needed new equipment for work. No, you didn't, Chloe. You told me you needed money for medicine. Marcus sighed and sat in the armchair across from her. Mom, sometimes emergencies change. Yes, she needed medicine, but when I got to the electronics store, they had incredible sales. I couldn't miss the opportunity. Incredible sales of $1,200. The computer normally costs $2,000. It was a bargain. Sylvia stared at him. Her son, raised to be honest and responsible, justifying an impulsive $1,000+ purchase as if it were normal. Marcus, that computer was not an emergency. It was a luxury. It's not a luxury, it's a work tool. Then pay for it with your work money. Chloe stood dramatically. I knew you were going to react like this. You always find a way to make us feel bad for asking for help. I'm not making you feel bad. I just want you to respect my money. Your money is always your money. We're family, Sylvia. Family money is for the whole family. My money is mine, Chloe. I worked 40 years for it. Marcus stood and started pacing. Mom, we understand your point, but you also have to understand ours. We're fighting to grow professionally, to have a better life. Your support is fundamental for us. I've supported you for 2 years, Marcus. I've spent more than $25,000 on you. $25,000? Chloe sounded offended. We haven't spent that much. Sylvia pointed to the papers on the table. The statements are right here. See for yourself. Neither came to the table. Neither wanted to see the real numbers. The point is, Marcus continued, we need to know we can count on you. Blocking the card without warning puts us in humiliating situations. Humiliating? Yes, Mom. Humiliating. Do you know how Chloe felt when her card was declined in front of everyone at the grocery store? It's not your card, Chloe. It's the family card. Those words resonated in Sylvia's mind. The family card. Her money converted into community property without her consent. I think I need some time to think. Time to think about what? Chloe sounded impatient. If you want to keep lending us your card, of course you're going to keep lending it to us. We're your family. Sylvia stood and walked to the window. Her garden looked beautiful under the afternoon sun. The red begonias were blooming, the white geraniums growing strong, the bougainvillea climbing the fence. Everything she cared for with her own hands was thriving. Why couldn't her relationship with her son be just as beautiful? I want you to leave for today, she said without turning around. Mom, please. I need to be alone. She heard their footsteps heading for the door. Before leaving, Marcus stopped. We hope you reconsider your position. We don't want this to affect our relationship. The door closed softly. This time, no slamming doors or screams, just the sound of her dreams of a perfect family slowly crumbling. But Sylvia didn't know this was just the beginning of something much worse. For 3 days, her house was wrapped in eerie silence. No calls from Marcus asking for money, no surprise visits from Chloe with new emergencies. It was as if they had decided to give her time to reconsider blocking the card. On Friday morning, while having coffee on the patio, Sylvia decided it was time to face reality completely. She had spent 2 years avoiding a detailed financial review, blindly trusting her family. It was time to see the real damage. She sat at her computer and opened her online bank account. The number on the screen hit like a punch to the stomach. 2 years ago, she had $45,000. Over $25,000 had disappeared. She printed every statement from the last 24 months. The printer ran for 20 minutes, spitting out page after page, full of numbers telling the story of her own naivety. She spread everything on the dining room table and began categorizing. Reasonable grocery purchases, occasional acceptable restaurants, but then everything else. March, $500 at a jewelry store. She hadn't bought jewelry. April, $700 on women's clothing. She didn't wear $700 clothes. May, $300 at a spa. She didn't go to spas. June, $1,000 on electronics. She barely knew how to use her basic phone. July, $800 on perfumes and cosmetics. Her perfume cost $30 and lasted 6 months. The list went on, page after page. every month had purchases she didn't remember authorizing, expenses on things she would never use, money spent in places she had never been. She called her bank. "Good morning, Mrs. Johnson. How can I help you?" "I need detailed information on all my credit card transactions over the last 2 years. Can you send me a complete report?" "Of course. Is there a specific problem with your account?" "There are transactions I don't recognize." "I understand. We'll send you the full report by certified mail within 3 business days. I also recommend you check if anyone else has access to your card." "Someone else? Chloe?" After hanging up, Sylvia went to her room and opened the lockbox where she kept important documents: passport, house deeds, insurance policies. And at the bottom, something that chilled her to the bone: a copy of her credit card. She picked it up with trembling hands. It was a clear photocopy of both sides, including the 3-digit security number on the back. In the bottom corner was a note in Chloe's handwriting: "For emergencies, C." When had she made that copy? When had she been in Sylvia's room without her knowledge? Since when did she have free access to her financial information? The phone rang. It was Chloe. "Sylvia, how are you? I've missed you these past few days." Her voice was sweet, like in the first months after the wedding. The voice she used when she wanted something. "I'm fine, Chloe. Good to hear from you. Hey, I have a tiny question. Do you remember your card security number? I want to buy something online and I don't have the card with me." The world stopped. She had a copy of the card and was now asking for the security code as if it were nothing. "Where is my card, Chloe?" "I have it, of course, like always. Didn't you give it to me to hold on to a few months ago for emergencies?" Sylvia didn't remember giving her the card permanently. She remembered temporary loans, one-day favors, specific emergencies. But according to Chloe, she had authorized indefinite possession. "Chloe, I need you to return my card." "Why? Did something bad happen?" "I need to have it with me." "But Sylvia, how are we going to handle emergencies? We'll have to bother you every time we need something urgent?" "Yes. You'll have to ask for my permission every time." There was a long silence. "You know what? We'd better talk in person. I'm coming over." "No, Chloe, just give me my card back." "I'm coming over," she repeated and hung up. 20 minutes later, Marcus's car parked in front of the house. This time they didn't come screaming. They rang the doorbell like normal visitors. Sylvia opened the door to find Chloe alone, smiling as if nothing had happened. "Hi, Sylvia. Can I come in?" Sylvia let her in, though every instinct told her not to. Chloe sat on the sofa and took the credit card from her purse. "Here's your card, but before I give it back, I think we need to talk." She placed it on the coffee table but didn't push it towards Sylvia. "Talk about what?" "About why you suddenly don't trust us? About why you're acting like we're strangers? About why you've changed so much?" "I haven't changed, Chloe. I'm just protecting my money." "Protecting your money from what? From us? From your own family?" She stood and walked around the living room, touching photo frames, adjusting sofa cushions, as if it were her own home. "Sylvia, you know Marcus and I love you very much. We would never do anything to hurt you. But lately, it seems like you see us as enemies." "I don't see you as enemies. I just want to know exactly how my money is being spent." "Exactly." She turned with a wounded expression. "Don't you trust my judgment? After 2 years of being married to your son, you still think I'm a stranger?" "You're not a stranger, but my money is still mine." She sat closer. "Look, Sylvia, I understand you feel uncomfortable. It's natural. When a woman reaches a certain age, it's normal to become more cautious with money." "A certain age?" The phrase hung like a subtle threat. "What do you mean by that?" "Nothing bad, of course. It's just that sometimes older people worry too much about small things. They get a little paranoid." "Paranoid?" The same word Marcus had used. Paranoid for wanting to control her own credit card. Paranoid for thinking her family was stealing from her. The words came out so naturally that it took Sylvia a moment to process. Stealing. She had used the word stealing. Who said anything about stealing? You did, Sylvia, with your actions, blocking the card, asking for detailed reports, treating us like criminals. What is that if not accusing us of theft? She stood. She needed physical distance from this conversation. Chloe, I just want my card back. Of course! Here it is! She finally pushed the card towards Sylvia. Sylvia took it and put it in her blouse pocket. But Sylvia, continued Chloe softly, I hope you understand that this is going to make things more complicated for everyone. Every time we have an emergency, we'll have to bother you. Every time we need something urgent, you'll have to go out of your way to help us. That's fine. I can handle that. Are you sure? Because sometimes emergencies happen at odd hours. Sometimes we need things when you're asleep or can't leave the house. Was she threatening or just outlining practical scenarios? We'll handle each situation as it comes. Chloe nodded slowly. Okay, if that's what you want. She stood to leave. I just hope you don't regret it when you see how complicated everything is going to get.
Sylvia walked her to the door. Before leaving, Chloe turned back. You know what the saddest part of all this is, Sylvia? That after 2 years of treating me like my own mother, you now see me as a stranger? That hurts a lot. Her eyes filled with tears. For a moment, Sylvia almost felt guilty. Almost. I don't see you as a stranger, Chloe. I see you as my son's wife, but not as family. You really are family, but my money is still mine. Chloe nodded sadly and left. That night, Sylvia couldn't sleep. Chloe's words replayed in her mind. Was she being paranoid? Was it normal for a 70-year-old woman to want to control her own money? Or was she becoming a distrustful old woman? She took out the card copy from the lockbox and studied it under her bedside lamp. It was perfect, clear, usable. Someone had planned this. And then she understood the truth. She wasn't becoming paranoid. She had been too trusting. But she didn't know the worst was yet to come. On Monday morning, the detailed bank report arrived by certified mail. 5 pages of transactions telling the complete story of how she had lost $25,000 in 2 years. Every purchase had a date, time, location, and amount. It was like reading the diary of a life that wasn't hers. She sat at the dining room table with a cup of coffee and studied each line. What she found took her breath away. Transactions while she was sleeping. Purchases at stores she'd never been to. Expenses in cities she'd never visited. And most disturbingly, cash withdrawals from ATMs at 3 a.m. How would someone withdraw money at 3 a.m. if she was in bed? She dialed Marcus's number. She needed an explanation before her mind created theories she didn't want to contemplate. Hello, Mom. How are you, Marcus? I need to ask you something important. Sure, what's up? My card has been used when I wasn't there. A long pause. What exactly do you mean? I mean, using it without my knowledge when I was at home. Mom, you gave us permission to use the card for emergencies. Sometimes emergencies don't wait for convenient hours. Money was taken from ATMs at 3 in the morning? Oh, that was one time we needed cash urgently for a taxi after dinner. We were out late and didn't have any on us. One time? The report says 6 times in the last 3 months. Mom, I'm not going to keep a detailed log of every emergency to report back to you like we're children. His tone had become defensive, impatient. Marcus, it's 6 withdrawals of $300 each, $1,800 in cash, and they were all for legitimate expenses? I don't understand why you're suddenly treating us like criminals. I'm not treating you like criminals. I just want to understand how my money was spent. You know what, Mom? I think we need a serious conversation. Chloe and I are coming over. Marcus, The line went dead. While waiting, Sylvia continued reviewing the report. She found something that made her feel physically sick. 2 simultaneous transactions in different places, a $200 purchase at the Grand Table restaurant at 8 p.m. and a $300 purchase at Elegance Boutique 12 miles away at the same time. It was impossible for one person to make both purchases, meaning they had made additional copies of her card. 40 minutes later, Marcus and Chloe walked in using the emergency key Sylvia had given them years ago. "Mom, we have to talk," Marcus said before sitting. Chloe looked different, less conciliatory, more determined. She sat across from Sylvia with arms crossed. "Sylvia, this is getting out of control. Your suspicions, your accusations, your obsessive review of every expense, it's not normal. It's not normal to want to know how my own money is being spent. It's not normal to treat your family like they're scammers," Marcus interjected. Sylvia put the bank report on the table. "Explain this to me. 2 purchases at the same time in different places." Marcus took the sheets and quickly reviewed them. "What purchases?" "Friday, April 15th, a $200 purchase at the Grand Table restaurant at 8 p.m. At the same time, a $300 purchase at Elegance Boutique." Chloe and Marcus exchanged a quick look. "Oh, that," Chloe said naturally. "I was at the restaurant and Marcus was buying me a surprise gift at the boutique. We used both cards at the same time so I wouldn't find out about the surprise." "Both cards? Your card and my card?" Marcus explained. "But my card got blocked that day, so I had to use yours for the gift too." The explanation sounded rehearsed, too perfect. But Sylvia had no way to prove they were lying. "How many copies of my card exist?" "Copies?" Chloe seemed genuinely confused. "What copies?" Sylvia took out the photocopy from the lockbox and studied it under her bedside lamp. "Oh, yeah, I made this copy months ago so I'd have the numbers in case I lost the original in an emergency. Is that wrong? Did you make more copies?" "No, of course not. Why would I?" "To make simultaneous purchases in different places." Marcus stood. "Mom, stop. We can't take these accusations anymore. They're not accusations, they're legitimate questions about my own money. They're accusations of fraud. You're accusing us of stealing. I'm not treating you like criminals. I just want to understand how my money was spent. You know what, Mom? I think we need a serious conversation. Chloe and I are coming over." Marcus. The line went dead. While waiting, Sylvia continued reviewing the report. She found something that made her feel physically sick. 2 simultaneous transactions in different places, a $200 purchase at the Grand Table restaurant at 8 p.m., and a $300 purchase at Elegance Boutique 12 miles away at the same time. It was impossible for one person to make both purchases, meaning they had made additional copies of her card. 40 minutes later, Marcus and Chloe walked in, using the emergency key Sylvia had given them years ago. "Mom, we have to talk," Marcus said before sitting. Chloe looked different, less conciliatory, more determined. She sat across from Sylvia with arms crossed. "Sylvia, this is getting out of control. Your suspicions, your accusations, your obsessive review of every expense, it's not normal. It's not normal to want to know how my own money is being spent. It's not normal to treat your family like they're scammers," Marcus interjected. Sylvia put the bank report on the table. "Explain this to me. 2 purchases at the same time in different places." Marcus took the sheets and quickly reviewed them. "What purchases?" "Friday, April 15th, a $200 purchase at the Grand Table restaurant at 8 p.m. At the same time, a $300 purchase at Elegance Boutique."
Chloe and Marcus exchanged quick looks. "Oh, that," Chloe said naturally. "I was at the restaurant and Marcus was buying me a surprise gift at the boutique. We used both cards at the same time so I wouldn't find out about the surprise." "Both cards?" "Your card and my card," Marcus explained. "But my card got blocked that day, so I had to use yours for the gift too." The explanation sounded rehearsed, too perfect, but Sylvia had no way to prove they were lying. "How many copies of my card exist?" "Copies?" Chloe seemed genuinely confused. "What copies?" Sylvia took out the photocopy from the lockbox. "This copy, with your handwriting on it." Chloe took it and studied it as if seeing it for the first time. "Oh, yeah. I made this copy months ago so I'd have the numbers in case I lost the original in an emergency." "Is that wrong?" "Did you make more copies?" "No, of course not. Why would I?" "To make simultaneous purchases in different places." Marcus stood. "Mom, stop. We can't take these accusations anymore." "They're not accusations, they're legitimate questions about my own money." "They're accusations of fraud. You're accusing us of stealing." "I'm not treating you like criminals. I just want to understand how my money was spent." "You know what, Mom? I think we need a serious conversation. Chloe and I are coming over." "Marcus!" The line went dead. While waiting, Sylvia continued reviewing the report. She found something that made her feel physically sick. 2 simultaneous transactions in different places. A $200 purchase at the Grand Table restaurant at 8 p.m. and a $300 purchase at Elegance Boutique 12 miles away at the same time. It was impossible for one person to make both purchases, meaning they had made additional copies of her card. 40 minutes later, Marcus and Chloe walked in using the emergency key Sylvia had given them years ago. "Marcus." "Mom, we have to talk," Marcus said before sitting. Chloe looked different, less conciliatory, more determined. She sat across from Sylvia with arms crossed. "Sylvia, this is getting out of control," she began. "Your suspicions, your accusations, your obsessive review of every expense, it's not normal. It's not normal to want to know how my own money is being spent." "It's not normal to treat your family like they're scammers," Marcus interjected. Sylvia put the bank report on the table. "Explain this to me. 2 purchases at the same time in different places." Marcus took the sheets and quickly reviewed them. "What purchases?" "Friday, April 15th, a $200 purchase at the Grand Table restaurant at 8 p.m. At the same time, a $300 purchase at Elegance Boutique." Chloe and Marcus exchanged a quick look. "Oh, that," Chloe said naturally. "I was at the restaurant and Marcus was buying me a surprise gift at the boutique. We used both cards at the same time so I wouldn't find out about the surprise." "Both cards? Your card and my card?" Marcus explained. "But my card got blocked that day, so I had to use yours for the gift too." The explanation sounded rehearsed, too perfect, but Sylvia had no way to prove they were lying. "How many copies of my card exist?" "Copies?" Chloe seemed genuinely confused. "What copies?" Sylvia took out the photocopy from the lockbox. "This copy, with your handwriting on it." Chloe took it and studied it as if seeing it for the first time. "Oh, yeah. I made this copy months ago so I'd have the numbers in case I lost the original card in an emergency. Is that wrong?" "Did you make more copies?" "No, of course not. Why would I?" "To make simultaneous purchases in different places." Marcus stood. "Mom, stop. We can't take these accusations anymore." "They're not accusations, Marcus. They're legitimate questions about my own money." "They're accusations of fraud. You're accusing us of stealing." "I just want explanations." Chloe stood and approached her. "Sylvia, do you know how much this hurts us? Do you know how it feels for your own mother-in-law to think you're a thief?" Her eyes filled with tears, but this time they didn't move Sylvia. "I just want the truth." "The truth is you're getting paranoid," yelled Marcus. "The truth is that every time we need your help, we make you feel like criminals." "The truth is," Chloe continued in a shaky voice, "we're considering distancing ourselves from you until you get professional help." "Professional help?" "Yes, Mom," Marcus calmed slightly. "I think you should talk to a doctor. These personality changers, this paranoia, this distrust of your own family, it's not normal." "My personality hasn't changed. I'm just protecting my money." "Your personality has changed," Chloe insisted. "Before you were generous, loving, you trusted us. Now you're suspicious, stingy, you treat us badly." "Stingy for not wanting to give away $25,000. "It hasn't been $25,000, Marcus protested. Sylvia took all the bank statements and spread them on the table. "The numbers are right here. Count it yourself." Neither even looked at the papers. "I'm not going to participate in this obsession of yours with keeping exact accounts of every favor you've done for us." "Favors. $25,000 are favors." "Yes, favors from a mother to her son. It's what normal families do." "Normal families don't hide copies of credit cards." Chloe took the photocopy from the table. "Do you want me to tear it up? Will that make you feel better?" She ripped the paper into small pieces and let them fall on the table. "There. Are you happy now?" "How many other copies did you make?" "None. I didn't make any other copies." "Then explain the late-night withdrawals." "I already explained the late-night withdrawals." Marcus approached and placed a hand on her shoulder. "Mom, this has to stop. You're destroying our family relationship for money." "I'm not destroying it. I'm just protecting it." "Protecting it from what, Mom? From us?" "Protecting my finances." "Your money isn't in danger with us," Chloe said softly. "Your money is in danger with you. Do you know how many people your age lose all their savings by making wrong decisions? Wrong decisions like trusting you. Wrong decisions like isolating yourself from your family because of paranoia." Marcus took his hand off her shoulder. "Mom, I'm going to make you a proposal. Give us one last chance to prove we're worthy of your trust. Give us access to your card for one more month. And at the end of the month, if you're not completely satisfied with how we've managed the expenses, we'll never ask you for money again." Chloe nodded enthusiastically. "It's an excellent idea. We'll show you that you can trust us." Sylvia looked at them both, her son and daughter-in-law, asking for one last chance to prove their honesty. It sounded reasonable, like something a normal family would do. But something in their eyes told her it wasn't a request. It was a demand disguised as a favor. "I need some time to think." "Time to think about what, Mom? If you trust your own family?" "Time to decide if I'm making a mistake." Marcus sighed. "Okay, take your time. But in the meantime, we're going to take some time too." "What does that mean?" "It means that until you decide to trust us again, we're going to keep our distance. We don't want to keep feeling like criminals with every visit." They headed for the door. Before leaving, Chloe turned around. "I hope that when you reconsider all this, you realize that we are the only thing you have. Without family, money is worthless." The door closed behind them, and Sylvia was left alone with the papers scattered on the table and the weight of a decision she didn't know how to make. Was she a paranoid mother, destroying her family relationship for money? Or was she an older woman being manipulated by her own family? She didn't know which possibility scared her more. For a week, Sylvia heard nothing from Marcus or Chloe. The silence felt strange after 2 years of constant calls asking for money, surprise visits, and urgent emergencies requiring her credit card. At first, the silence was a relief. She could water her plants without interruptions, read her book in peace, cook for herself without preparing extra portions. But after 5 days, it began to feel like punishment. Was this what they wanted? To isolate her until she gave in to their demands? On Saturday morning, while organizing her closet, she found something that made her stop. At the bottom of the last drawer, wrapped in an old handkerchief, was the pearl necklace Robert had given her for her 10th anniversary. She hadn't worn it in years. She took it out and held it up to the light. The pearls were still beautiful, perfect, intact after all those years. She remembered the night Robert put it on her, his hands trembling slightly as he struggled with the clasp. "For the strongest woman I know, so you never forget your worth." Her worth? When did she start to doubt it? She decided to put on the necklace and leave the house. She needed fresh air, to see people, to remember that a world existed beyond this situation with Marcus and Chloe. She went to the downtown farmer's market where she had bought vegetables for 20 years.
Mr. Garcia, the fruit stand owner, greeted her with his usual wrinkled smile. "Mrs. Johnson, it's so good to see you. How have you been?" "I've been okay, Mr. Garcia. A little worried lately, but I'm okay." "Worried about what? Your health? Your family?" He nodded with understanding. "Families can be complicated. I have 5 kids, and each one gives me a different headache." "Did you ever feel that your kids saw you only as a source of money?" Mr. Garcia stopped arranging oranges and looked at her directly. "Mrs. Johnson, are you going through something like that? I don't know if I'm exaggerating or if it's really happening. Do you want some advice from someone who has lived 75 years? She nodded. "When your own instincts tell you something isn't right, listen to them. A mother's instincts never lie." His words stayed with her all the way home. A mother's instincts never lie. That afternoon, while watering the begonias, her phone rang. It was Marcus. "Hello, Mom. How are you?" "Hello, son. I'm fine. And you?" "We've been thinking a lot. Chloe and I discussed the whole situation and came to a conclusion." "What conclusion?" "That maybe you're right to want more control over your money. That maybe we've been too casual about the financial thing." Sylvia was surprised. She hadn't expected that response. "I'm glad to hear that, Marcus. So, we want to propose something different. Instead of using your card, we want you to give us a fixed amount every month, like an allowance. That way, you'll know exactly how much you're giving us, and we'll know what we can count on." "An allowance?" "Yes, an amount you consider reasonable for our expenses. We were thinking maybe $1,500 a month." $1,500 a month? $18,000 a year for expenses they considered necessary? Marcus, $1,500 is a lot of money. It's less than we've spent on average these past few months. We thought it would be a way to cut down on expenses and give you more control." "Why do you need $1,500 a month if you both work?" "Because we're trying to grow professionally. We need appropriate clothes for work. We need to maintain certain social standards. We need to invest in our future, and our salaries aren't enough for that." "Mom, our salaries barely cover the apartment and basic food. Everything else requires additional help." "Then maybe you should reduce your expenses." There was a long pause. "Do you want us to live like we're poor?" "I want you to live within your means. Our means include having a mother who can help us grow." "I don't understand why you suddenly want us to struggle on our own when you have the resources to make our lives easier." "Because they're not my lives, Marcus. They're your lives. We're family. My life and your life are connected." His tone had changed. The conversation was heading into familiar territory again. "Marcus, I'm not going to give you $1,500 a month." "How much then? 1,000? "I don't know. I need to think about it." "Think about it, Mom. We've been waiting a week for an answer. And I've been spending money uncontrollably for 2 years. I need time to decide how to proceed." "You know what? Forget it. Forget the whole proposal." "Marcus, no." "Mom, we're not going to beg for your help anymore. Chloe was right. There are other options." "What other options?" "Options that don't require begging my own mother for money."
He hung up before she could respond. That night, she couldn't sleep. What did he mean by other options? What was Marcus talking about? On Monday morning, she found out. She was having breakfast when someone knocked on the door. It was a young man in a suit with a briefcase. "Mrs. Sylvia Johnson?" "Yes, I am. I'm Mr. Roberts from the law firm of Hayes & Associates. Your son, Marcus Johnson, has retained our services to review your mental and financial capacity." Sylvia felt as if the floor had disappeared beneath her feet. "Excuse me? Your son is concerned about your mental well-being. According to him, you have shown signs of paranoia, confusion, and erratic decision-making. He is considering initiating a legal process to obtain guardianship over your finances." Guardianship? Yes, ma'am. A process where a judge determines if you are capable of managing your own financial affairs or if you need someone else to handle them for you. Someone like my son. Exactly. Sylvia sat in the armchair because her legs no longer supported her. What do I need to do to defend myself? First, I recommend you hire a lawyer. Second, you should undergo medical examinations to prove your mental capacity. Third, you should gather evidence that you manage your finances responsibly. How much time do I have? If they decide to proceed formally, you will receive an official summons with 30 days to respond. The man left Sylvia alone with the realization that her own son was considering legally taking control of her money. Her own son! That afternoon, Sylvia called her neighbor, Alma. She had known her for 15 years, but never had an intimate friendship. Still, she needed to talk to someone, and Alma had always seemed sensible. "Alma, could you come over? I need some advice." "Of course, Sylvia, I'll be right there." When she arrived, Sylvia told her everything. The loans that became permanent, the credit card they never gave back, the unauthorized purchases, the threat of legal guardianship, everything. She listened in silence, nodding occasionally without judgment. "You know what I think, Sylvia?" "What?" "I think your son and his wife are systematically manipulating you, and now that you're defending yourself, they're escalating to more aggressive tactics." "You think I'm being manipulated?" "I'm sure of it, and I'm sure you're not the first older woman this has happened to." "What should I do?" "Fight with every legal tool you have. Don't let them take your money or your dignity." "What if I lose my son in the process?" Alma took her hands. "Sylvia, you already lost your son. The Marcus you raised, the one who respected you, the one who was grateful for your sacrifices, that Marcus no longer exists. What you have now is a stranger who wants your money and is willing to have you declared incompetent to get it." Her words were like a blow to the chest, but also like liberation. She was right. Her son was already gone. "Do you know a good lawyer?" "I know the best lawyer in the city for these cases. His name is Vincent Harris. He specializes in defending older adults against family financial abuse." Vincent Harris. The name was etched in her mind. "Can you give me his number?" "I'll do you one better. I'll go with you to his office tomorrow." That night, for the first time in weeks, Sylvia slept soundly, not because her problems had disappeared, but because she had finally decided to fight. Her son had chosen money over her. Now she was going to choose her dignity over him. On Monday morning, Alma accompanied her to the law office downtown.
Vincent Harris turned out to be a man in his 60s with gray hair, intelligent eyes, and a calm way of speaking that immediately made her feel confident. "Mrs. Johnson, tell me exactly what has been happening," he said as he took notes on a yellow pad. Sylvia recounted everything from the beginning: the loans that were never repaid, the credit card used without her knowledge, the unauthorized copies, the late-night withdrawals, and finally the threat of legal guardianship. "Do you have documentation of all these transactions?" "I have all the bank statements and the detailed report I requested last week. Excellent. Did you ever sign a document giving your son or his wife permanent authorization to use your card? Never. Did you ever authorize them to make copies of your card? Never. Vincent stopped writing and looked at her directly. Mrs. Johnson, what you're describing is family financial abuse. It's a crime, and we also have civil options to recover your money. How common is this? More common than people think. The most frequent victims are older women with savings who trust family members who gradually appropriate their resources. How will we proceed? First, we'll protect you from the guardianship lawsuit. Second, we'll fully document the financial abuse. Third, we'll recover your money. And fourth, we'll make sure this doesn't happen again. Sylvia felt relieved. For the first time in months, she finally had someone on her side who understood the situation. How much will all this cost? My fees are $3,000, but I consider that an investment to recover $25,000. She signed the contract that same day. Over the next week, Vincent and his team worked meticulously. They requested security camera footage from stores where her card had been used, tracked IP addresses of online purchases, and documented every unauthorized transaction. What they found was worse than she had imagined. Mrs. Johnson, Vincent told her during their second meeting, not only did they use your card without authorization, they also created fake credit accounts using your personal information. Fake credit accounts? Yes, 3 additional credit cards, all in your name, but sent to your son's address. The statements show they've accumulated almost $15,000 in additional debt. $15,000 in debt I didn't know existed? Her heart raced. How is that possible? They had access to all your personal information, your social security number, date of birth, bank information. With that data, it's relatively easy to apply for credit online. This means I owe that money. Not necessarily. We're going to dispute all those accounts as identity fraud, but we need to act fast. That afternoon, Vincent accompanied her to file fraud reports with the 3 credit agencies. They also filed a criminal complaint for identity theft and financial abuse. What will happen now? Your son will receive a notification that you are disputing the debts and have filed criminal charges. They will probably contact you to try to reach an agreement. An agreement? They'll try to convince you to drop the charges in exchange for promises of payment. Don't accept anything without consulting me first. He was right. On Friday night, her phone rang. It was Marcus. Mom, what have you done? His voice sounded different, scared, desperate. I've protected my finances, son. We got a court summons. We're being accused of fraud. Because you committed fraud. We didn't commit fraud. We're your family. Everything we did was with your knowledge. No, Marcus, it was not with my knowledge. Mom, you have to drop these charges. They're going to ruin our lives. You already ruined mine. Please, we'll pay all the money back. Just drop the charges. With what money are you going to pay me back $25,000? We'll get the money. We'll take out a loan. We'll sell things, whatever it takes. And the $15,000 in credit cards you open in my name? There was silence. How do you know about those cards? Because I hired a lawyer, Marcus. Because I investigated what you really did. Mom, those cards were for real emergencies. Chloe needed expensive medical treatments. Medical treatments at clothing stores and expensive restaurants? Not all the purchases were frivolous. All the purchases were fraud. He started to cry. It was the first time he had heard him cry since he was a child. Mom, please, we're your family. You can't destroy us for money. You already destroyed me for money. We'll pay everything back. Just give me one chance. You've already had 2 years of chances. One more chance, please. No, Marcus. Then this is war. His voice changed completely. The tears turned into coldness. War. If you don't drop the charges, we're going to proceed with the guardianship lawsuit. We're going to prove that you're losing your mental capacity. We're going to get witnesses who say you've been behaving erratically. What witnesses? Neighbors, shopkeepers, people who have noticed your paranoid behavior. My behavior isn't paranoid, it's defensive. A judge will decide that. He hung up.
The next day, the real war began. First came the calls. Marcus, Chloe, unknown numbers, all leaving messages on her answering machine. Some pleading, others threatening, all trying to convince her to drop the charges. Then the visits began. Marcus showed up at different times of the day, knocking insistently, yelling from the street that he just wanted to talk. Chloe sent friends to knock on her door with invented pretexts. One afternoon, while watering patio plants, she heard voices on the street. 3 women she didn't know were standing in front of her house talking loudly. That's the house of the lady who's accusing her own son of stealing. How embarrassing. Sometimes kids have financial problems and need help. At that age, it's normal for them to become distrustful. My grandmother also got like that before she didn't finish the sentence, but the message was clear. They were spreading rumors about her mental state. Sylvia called Vincent. "They're doing exactly what I expected," he told her. "They're trying to create a narrative that you're mentally incompetent. It's a common tactic in these cases. What should we do?" Document everything. Record the conversations, take photos of the unwanted visits, keep a log of all the harassment. We're going to use it against them. That night, someone keyed her car. 2 words in red spray paint. Crazy miser. The message was clear. While she fought legally, they would fight psychologically. Sylvia called Alma to tell her what was happening. "Sylvia, you can't stay in that house alone. Come stay with me until this is resolved. I'm not going to let them run me out of my own home. Then I'll stay with you." That night, Alma slept on Sylvia's sofa. Her presence calmed her, but it also saddened her. At 70 years old, she needed protection against her own family. At 3 a.m., her phone rang. She answered, thinking it might be an emergency, but it was Alma. She picked up the phone and answered,
"I hope you're happy," Chloe's voice said, distorted as if speaking through a handkerchief. "I hope you're happy destroying a family for dirty money." "Dirty money? The money your husband made from illegal business? You think we don't know where your savings really came from." "What are you saying?" "Ask the people in the neighborhood what kind of man your husband was. Ask them what they thought of his late-night business." She hung up before Sylvia could respond. Robert had been an accountant. He had worked at the same office for 20 years. He hadn't had late-night business or dirty money. But now Sylvia understood how far they were willing to go to destroy her reputation. They were attacking the memory of her deceased husband. "Alma," she whispered in the darkness, "I think this is going to get worse before it gets better." "I know," Alma replied from the sofa, "but we're going to stand together." For the first time in months, Sylvia didn't feel completely alone. She had Alma, she had Vincent, and she had the truth on her side. But she didn't know if that would be enough against the desperation of people who had lost access to her money and were willing to do anything to get it back. The court hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday in March. For the 2 weeks leading up to it, Vincent and his team worked tirelessly to prepare Sylvia's defense. There were documents, testimonies, forensic evidence of fraudulent purchases, and something that surprised her: other victims. "Mrs. Johnson, your case has opened a broader investigation," Vincent explained in his office. "We've found 3 similar cases in the last 2 years. Families using the same tactics: gradual financial abuse, followed by guardianship lawsuits when the victim defends herself. Your courage in reporting this is helping other people." On the day of the hearing, Sylvia arrived at the courthouse accompanied by Vincent and Alma. In the courtroom, Marcus and Chloe were waiting with their lawyer, a young man in an expensive suit who wouldn't stop reviewing documents. When their eyes met, Marcus immediately looked away. Chloe looked at Sylvia with a coldness that made her tremble. The judge, a man in his 50s with a serious expression, reviewed all the documents before beginning. The hearing lasted 3 hours. Vincent meticulously presented all the evidence: the $25,000 in unauthorized purchases, the 3 credit cards opened fraudulently, the late-night cash withdrawals, the unauthorized copies of her card. Every transaction was documented with date, time, location, and amount. Marcus's lawyer tried to argue that everything had been verbally authorized,
that Sylvia had given permission to use her financial information, that her lawsuit was the result of age-related mental confusion. He presented testimonies from two people who had supposedly noticed changes in her behavior. But Vincent had prepared a devastating surprise. He had obtained security camera recordings from several stores where her card had been used. The images clearly showed Chloe using her card while Sylvia was supposedly at home. He also had phone records showing that during some of those purchases, Sylvia had been talking on her home landline, making it impossible for her to have been present at the stores. The most compelling evidence was the testimony of her family doctor, Dr. Paul Rodriguez, who had been her physician for 15 years. He testified that her medical and neurological exams over the last 2 years showed completely normal mental capacity for her age, with no signs of cognitive decline, dementia, or any condition that could affect her ability to make financial decisions. When the judge asked Sylvia to testify, she stood with trembling legs but a firm voice. She explained how it all started with small loans that were never repaid, how they had gradually taken control of her credit card, how they had made copies without her authorization, and how, when she finally tried to protect her finances, they threatened to take legal control of her money. "Mrs. Johnson," the judge asked, "at any point did you specifically authorize your son or his wife to open credit accounts in your name?" "Never, Your Honor. I never authorized any additional credit accounts." "Did you know these accounts existed before you hired your lawyer?" "I had no knowledge of their existence. I discovered the $15,000 in debt when Mr. Harris investigated my financial situation." When Marcus testified, his story changed several times. First, he said Sylvia had verbally authorized everything. Then he admitted some purchases had been impulsive decisions. Finally, he acknowledged the additional credit accounts had been opened without her direct knowledge, but insisted they were for legitimate family expenses. The judge interrupted him coldly. "Mr. Johnson, regardless of your intentions, opening credit accounts using another person's personal information without their explicit authorization constitutes identity fraud, a federal crime." The judge's decision was clear and definitive. Not only did he completely reject the guardianship lawsuit, but he ordered Marcus and Chloe to immediately repay the $25,000 Sylvia had documented, plus interest and legal costs. Furthermore, he ordered the immediate cancellation of the 3 fraudulent accounts and the removal of that debt from her credit history. As if that wasn't enough, he issued a restraining order prohibiting them from contacting her directly for 1 year, with any future communication required to go through lawyers. The documented behavior in this case, declared the judge, represents a systematic pattern of family financial abuse. The evidence clearly demonstrates that Mrs. Johnson is completely mentally competent and that her actions to protect her finances were appropriate and necessary. The guardianship lawsuit not only lacks merit, but it appears to have been filed as a tactic of intimidation to maintain unauthorized access to the plaintiff's financial resources. When they left the courtroom, Vincent explained that recovering the money could take a few months, but the court order legally obligated them to begin payments immediately. If they didn't comply, they would face additional charges for contempt of court. That night, in the tranquility of her home, Sylvia sat in her favorite armchair with a cup of tea and looked out the window at her garden. The red begonias were blooming beautifully. The white geraniums were growing strong. Everything she had cared for with love was still thriving. For the first time in 2 years, her money was safe, her house was protected, her future was in her own hands again. But along with the relief came a deep sadness.
She had won the legal battle. She had recovered her money. She had protected her dignity. But she had lost her son. The Marcus she had raised, the boy she had breastfed in that same armchair, the young man she had supported for years. That Marcus was gone forever, replaced by a stranger who had been willing to declare her mentally incompetent to access her money. Justice had triumphed, but her mother's heart was still broken. 6 months after the hearing, Sylvia's life had found a new normal. The court-ordered payments arrived punctually every month, and her bank account was gradually recovering. More importantly, she had recovered her peace of mind. Vincent religiously supervised that Marcus and Chloe complied with the court order. During those months of legal work, their conversations had evolved beyond legal matters.
Sylvia discovered that Vincent had been a widower for 5 years, that he had 3 adult children who lived in other cities, and that he shared her love for gardening. "How do you get your bougainvillea to grow so beautifully?" he asked one afternoon while reviewing the latest payment documents on her patio. "Patience and constant care," she replied, "like everything worthwhile in life." His visits had become more frequent and less professional. He would arrive with excuses about documents to review, but would stay to have coffee and talk about books, politics, memories of their marriages, and plans for the future. He made her feel valued, not for her money, but for who she was as a person. One Sunday afternoon in October, while sharing tea and homemade cookies, Vincent took her hand. "Sylvia, these months with you have been the happiest I've had since I lost my wife. You've given me back the hope that life can still be beautiful at our age. And you've given me back the confidence that good people exist who don't want to take advantage of me. Does it seem crazy that a 62-year-old lawyer is thinking about falling in love with his 70-year-old client? It seems wonderful that a 70-year-old woman is feeling butterflies in her stomach like a schoolgirl." They got married in a small, intimate ceremony 6 months later. Only the 2 of them were present, with Alma as her witness, Vincent's brother as his, and the judge who married them. It was perfect in its simplicity. Vincent moved into her house, bringing his law books, his plants, and a quiet joy that filled every room. Together, they redesigned Robert's study as their shared library. Together, they planted new flowers in the garden. Together, they built routines that gave them both happiness. In the afternoons, while Sylvia cooked, Vincent worked on pro bono cases, helping other older adults who were victims of family financial abuse. It had become his specialty after her case, and he found deep satisfaction in protecting vulnerable people. "Every case I win is a victory for human dignity," he would tell her. Marcus tried to contact her once, 6 months after her marriage to Vincent. He called one afternoon. His voice sounded tired, defeated. "Mom, I know I'm not supposed to call you, but I needed to tell you something. Marcus, you know you can't talk to me directly. I just want to say I'm sorry. Chloe and I are getting divorced. She left with another man, taking everything we were able to save after the lawsuit. I'm left with no money, no wife, and no mother for following her plans." Sylvia felt a pang of maternal pain, but she was no longer the same woman who had been manipulated for 2 years. "Marcus, I'm sorry you're going through this, but decisions have consequences. Can you ever forgive me? I've already forgiven you, son. But forgiving doesn't mean forgetting, and it definitely doesn't mean going back to how things were before. We might be able to have some kind of relationship in the future, maybe when you've truly shown that you've changed, not just that you need money again." That was the last time they spoke. Sylvia heard from other people that Marcus had moved to another city, gotten a modest job, and was trying to rebuild his life from scratch. A part of her, the mother she would always be, hoped that one day he would find a way to be the man she thought she had raised, but she no longer waited around. She no longer put her life on hold for the possibility that someone else would change. Now she had a full life with Vincent. They traveled. They read together. They cared for their garden. They had visits from his children when they came to town. They built a relationship based on mutual respect, genuine affection, and the simple joy of sharing the last years of their lives with someone who valued them. At 72, Sylvia learned that it's never too late to defend your dignity. It's never too late to say no. It's never too late to start over. She lost a lot of money and her only son in the process, but she gained something more valuable: her freedom, her self-respect, and the chance at true love in the most unexpected stage of her life. Every morning she woke up in her own house with her money safe in her own account, with a man who loved her for who she was, not for what she had. It was a victory sweeter than she ever imagined possible. Life taught her that sometimes to gain everything, you have to be willing to lose everything first.